Nikola Jokic got MVP. I think you could also make the case that Jamal Murray was certainly worthy of it. He averaged 21 points, 6 boards, and 10 dimes in the finals. What did you see from Jamal Murray that makes you excited about him being a top 20 or top 25 pick going into next season?
I would say the decision making, in addition to his scoring ability, being further removed from that ACL tear. First 4 games of the finals, he had 10 or more assists. That was the first time in NBA history, I believe, that a player had 10 or more assists in each of his first 4 finals games. So I think the improvement there, the turnovers were a bit high in game 5, but given how tight the game was and how much Miami was going to fight, it's not really a surprise. And he still had 8 assists. So I think that kind of worked out in his favor as it is. So, a full season, another season removed from the knee injury, I don't think there'll be any types of restrictions on him going into next year, because there was still some injury management, work done early in this season for him. But
yeah,
I think he's at that point where we thought he would continue to build from in the bubble, and he's just going to go even higher. I think he's got even more to give from a production standpoint.
Yeah, he was top 50. He was just outside the top 50 this year in 9 cat leagues. So I think he can make that jump into that top 30, top 25 conversation for sure. I'm going to make him a 3rd round pick. I think we'll see how this offseason goes. He maybe even get into the late 2nd round, because as you said, I think it's the decision making, that jump, because he was really just a score first guard before. But I think you saw in the finals how dominant he could be in the pick and roll and then the dribble handoff with Jokic. I mean, the Heat were one of the best teams at adjusting, whether it be a zone defense or just giving you multiple different looks, and they just could not figure out that 2-man game. And it just, I don't know, I think it just goes to show the maturation that he's made in his game, that he can do stuff other than score. And he was doing that at a high clip too. So I really like Jamal Murray. Let's talk about Michael Porter Jr. though, because he didn't have the NBA Finals production that he had throughout the playoffs. Like, he was a knockdown shooter for much of the playoffs, and then he just kind of lost his shot in the finals, but really did hit the glass. And I think that that's an area where I would love to see more improvement from him, like more sustainment in that area, because I think that could really increase his fantasy value if you can get near double with Michael Porter Jr. He's never going to give you any assists, but the threes, the points, and the rebounds, I think that could be huge.
Yeah, he's just outside top 75 in 9 cat this year. During the regular season, 5.5 rebounds per game. As you noted, he was much better during the playoffs, especially the finals. And I think for me, that's the biggest sign of potential for him. Like, we've seen in the past where he and a lot of other score first guys let their shot dictate what they do in other areas. I thought he moved past that in this playoff run. So I think having the evidence that doing so will reward you in the form of a championship, I think that's going to help him even more. I don't know how high I draft, but I still have him in like that 7th round range, I guess I would say. But I don't know if I would go too much lower than that, just because I think the scoring is going to be there. Far better shooter than what we saw in the finals. And that rebounding, if he can continue on that path, he's going to be a very good fantasy player. I think my one concern would be the brace that he had to play in on his left leg because of the back issues and what that caused in other areas. Does he get that off this offseason, or is it something that he's going to have to continue to deal with moving forward?
Yeah, injuries are always a concern with Michael Porter Jr. 2 seasons ago, he balled out. I think that really raised his fantasy stock, and then he kind of had a down year once Jamal Murray kind of entered the fold, along with other assets like Bruce Brown and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. But yeah, I don't know that I'm going to expect him to drop, 18 points a game. I think it's probably going to settle somewhere in that 17 range. But if you can get that 5.5 up to about 7 or 8, I think that's a well-worthy, mid-round pick, as you suggested. I would prefer him over like a Tobias Harris type of a guy. But would still probably go in the same range. But yeah, I think that he's here to stay, man. I was just looking at, before we hopped on the show, I was looking at his contract. My gosh, he's going to be in Denver for a while with that kind of a cap hit. But that's the beauty about the Denver Nuggets, the way that they've organized their roster. They can afford to have these lower end guys because they drafted them. They got them for a good deal. And it's not as much of a cap hit to them, that they can still keep the stars like Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. And Jokic doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to want to, be a mercenary here and travel to different teams. Like, I think he's going to be pretty locked into that Denver scenario for a while. And if Jamal Murray's smart, he'll ride those coattails, because I think that's a dope combo, one of the best NBA duos that we can see in the league right now.